Record. Mic trigger.
Hi folks, I have decided to make a video about things that are happening. So first and foremost, we're renewing our website entirely. It might mean that we just stop using WordPress and we start going to Substack, and we're going to sort of have a pretend that means that we can have a fictional website and also have a newsletter, which we've been talking about for some time, because we thought we need to really pay attention to the people on the front row. And we are, at the moment, we're using our current website at the moment, which is the WordPress one. But we're going to use it, we've decided we're going to use it towards the end of the year. So there'll be blogs going up towards the end of the year, saying what's going to happen and all the rest of it. There will be, but the new thing is, going forward, we want the people on the front row, we want them to get the news as well as everybody else. You know, I mean, if you have a few people subscribe, and then, you know, you control your audience, then you could say, right, okay, well, this person's going to decide to read this, or this person's going to decide to read this, and then they're going to subscribe, whatever. And the whole idea is,
Big Olive. Now, Big Yourself juice box. 3 minutes ago. Hi, mind mob. How have you been? Smiling face.
The idea is we do this, right? First things first. We do, the newsletter will have everything in it. It'll have all my thoughts that I'm thinking, which I'll still do a YouTube video on, but it's only going to be once a month or once a couple of weeks when I do the creative thoughts thing, because the issue with YouTube, as I've learnt, is YouTube doesn't control your audience. Sorry, you don't control your audience on YouTube, and even if you to pay for the full monetization costs, YouTube does not allow you to control your content to the audience. Even social media doesn't allow you to control for your audience. I mean, it's all good to see. I mean, I still look at the views. I'm surprised that some of my videos have more views on than others, but I'm wondering if people have only watched the beginning or the middle. I know that some people have probably not watched a video all the way to the end because it's been too long for them. Which I'd say lean on the manuscript, especially for this video, because this video's talking about this should be what people go to on my channel, because, you know, I have a lot of things, but the newsletter that we hope to do and the website will have lots of recommendations. It'll have lots of really good reading material, tools, tips, things you can get to us from a pretend and play company. And our newsletter will be titled Business from a Bedroom. From briefcases to millionaires. I think that's the kind of you know, it was my very first company I ever had was a newspaper company. It never got anywhere. But we wrote newspapers. We wrote them, and we had a very small team. A very, very small team. About 5 or 6 of us on a team at least. But me and Gress, we ran the team. We had a couple of media outlets that we were running from at the time, very small, very, very small. And we would host... No, I think there were other people hosting events. We never hosted anything because of our... Well, when you're 10 years of age, back then you weren't really allowed to host anything because... I mean, still there's this whole thing, but back then it was more of a... You couldn't You couldn't host an event at 10 years old. I think when you got to 13 over here in the UK, I think you could host an event. But it was a very, very small newspaper. Very, very small. And it was, we were doing crimes and stuff. But then we changed. Because we were then a reporter for another newspaper, an arty-farty newspaper. And they bought our newspaper out in 3 years' time. I was also still working for the emergency services, but only making record books for them. So before you had databases, we had record books. Record books kind of all being analysed now to databases and spreadsheets. A lot of the record books seem to get burnt and stuff. But apparently, somebody emailed me the other day and said they've still got a photo album with some of the stuff that we did. So some of the records they had. There was a guy called Derek Winston who he was an amazing case. He had a whole record book based on him because he was driving drunkily, but he was an alleged terrorist. And there was a lot more to him that met the eye. But anyway, and then I went into the building company, as you all know. You'll know about the building company, which is a whole load of stories on how I made all that and all that kind of stuff. But it'll talk about that. The newsletter's going to talk about all what I've done and how I've got to where I am now. And there's always a point, when you've made it big, there's still things you need to do. You can't just go, "Ooh, look at me, I'm big, I'm a get-rich-quick. I've made it big now." Even if you've made the big time, you have to remember that you've still got to keep making the big time. So you've got to understand your losses, your gains, all of that. Otherwise, you're never going to get anywhere. Also, good relationships in business makes, understand that it's all good having friends in business, but remember who your real friends are and who your real, what a real working relationship is. A real community. So these are the things I want to talk about in my newsletter, because I think these are the things that we need to be pointing people to. A real direction. Now, very quick, the YouTube videos. I've not been making many YouTube videos at the moment. I've got quite a few, but I've not been sticking to the schedule. My lazy Sundays have gone a bit astray, and they will do from time to time. Tonight on FB, I've got to do a live stream, because we do a live stream every Friday on the audio blog page, and we do one every single Friday, no matter what. Whether it's a hangout or a sermon. I think this week it's a hangout because there isn't, a lot to talk on when it comes to Friday sermons. Another thing, right? Here's the thing, right? Tonight, me and Andy are working on the audio blog. We are working on it hard and heavy. We're still doing the episode. We've started on it. We did the rest of it last night. So, anyway, it'll take another couple of days to get out. We're still doing it. This is a big episode. It's probably one of our biggest episodes we've ever done. The audio blog will change because we will not be doing music appreciation episodes anymore, because we have bigger fish to fry on the podcast. We have our stories to tell, and we decided that this would be the last. We were going to do Spotify Island, but we've decided to cut those episodes out now and just have that as a special episode. So the music appreciation stuff we're leaving for a special episode, because our podcast was never about putting music in it, and we did it through lockdown, and now lockdown's over and people are getting back to normal. But I don't want to be listening to the same old shit. And the good episodes are there, and you can go back and listen to them for as long as they're going to be on Spotify. I don't know how long they're going to be on, due to whatever copyright shit emerges. Another thing as well, right? We've got a project library. I say this, we've got a project library. We're making 3 to 4 books. But there's also the project library with all of the stock images shit and all that. And that's all crammed into one PDF document. It's really long, but we've decided to just cram everything down into one document, because then you can just download it, put it on your thing, and create your own library of images and stuff. The library will be free. Well, all they ask is a little donation. It'll be open source. There are things that you have to, you can pay for. You can pay for the project library as a full-blown library, or you can just download the free document, which will have about up to 120 stock images, and stickers, GIFs, crumbs, just loads of stuff, and that's going to be packed in, and it's just going to be free. It's a massive document. It's a 320-page document full of some great stuff. But speaking of stock image libraries, we are doing a big stock image library and stock image project library, and it walks you through whatever you need to do to start a project. There's a lot of ex-web designers who keep asking how to do things the Mind Mob way, which are not Mind Mob anymore, but people keep asking and asking and asking. So there's a walkthrough web-based web design project there for you. Walks you through web design. There's going to be our corporate manual, which we are still in processing of. It's a long thing, but we still keep doing it. It's a big thing. It's a big task. But then there's our own project book, which we're doing, our own project books, which we're releasing to the public, just a couple of them, so you can see what it's like, and it gives you a guide. It's more of a guide on what you can do, and one of them Tom McInhill was producing. So, and then there's a CyberClans book, which we're redoing. Hopefully we'll get that done for a year or whatever. So, yeah, writing books, it's a big process. It's a massive process. But we've had stuff to do in the office, stuff to deal with. We got a brand new podcast coming out soon. We're redoing The Mind of a Burger, not as you knew it, unfortunately. Those early episodes, if you go back, listen to the old Mind of a Burger, they're quite enjoyable, actually. There's some, even though they were kind of messed up and they did have a structure, it's just they weren't working well for us. We decided that we were gonna, so we've decided to do Mind of a Burger as a brand new. The page will stay the same, I think. The branding will stay the same for it. I know the branding is, you cannot fix us. You cannot fix people with autism. You cannot fix people, with learning disabilities or learning difficulties. But we're going to talk about that in our pod. So this is just an update little video that I thought I would make and do.
Mic trigger. Button. Mic lock. Finish recording.